Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got Spencer Rattler, the most controversial 2024 NFL Draft QB. Let's check this out, man.
One of the most polarizing names in the 2024 NFL quarterback class.
Rattler used to be like he was like wasn't he a 5-star if I'm not mistaken? But he was potential first-round pick like a few years ago. But then he started to, you know what I'm saying, suck a lot at Oklahoma. But then I feel like he's definitely played good these last couple of seasons at South Carolina.
As everyone knows, Rattler was the #1 quarterback.
But you never know, bro. He might be a starting QB in NFL one day.
Transferred to South Carolina, where he had an up and down 2 seasons. There is a lot to be said about Spencer Rattler, and in today's video, we're going to try to explain his NFL draft profile. We're going to talk about how he got to this point, how he became that coveted.
Damn, look at this picture. What is this camera shot, bro?
And where he should be headed next. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football or the NFL draft, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation
I got you, bro.
I could cover next.
Now I got you, bro.
And talk about the harsh
like and subscribe, man.
NFL. In order to understand how Rattler got to this point, we first need to go back in time. Rattler was born of the oldest of 2 kids in Phoenix, Arizona, and he was born in the year 2000. His father would help him develop a love and enjoyment for the game of football, and that would happen at a very young age. By the time Spencer had made it to Pinnacle High School in Phoenix, he was physically and technically sound enough
that nigga's gone.
Keep in mind, he was only 14 years old. He was incredibly talented as soon as he stepped on the football field, and he immediately started to...
He got a great deep ball.
His freshman year at Pinnacle,
when he was younger,
he threw for 2,300 yards.
Holy shit!
Touchdowns with 9 interceptions. He looked so incredibly good that he was getting Power 5 scholarships.
Oh my gosh!
Schools like UCLA.
He's just out here just ripping that hoe.
All reached out, wanting to hopefully land his talents at some point. The next year in 2016,
Spencer
would throw for nearly 3,000 yards and 23 touchdowns and 10 picks. This only added to the hype that he had, and before his junior season, he started to get more and more interest from college scouts, namely from the coaching staff at Oklahoma, who offered him the summer before his sophomore year. He later decided to commit to Oklahoma in 2017 before the season would even start. He ended up dominating his junior campaign, throwing for almost 4,000 yards.
I just wish he could have
junior season. He was invited to
stayed consistent
and played alongside players such as Jayden Daniels, Max Duggan, Sam Howell, Talia Tagovailoa, and Bo Nix. He absolutely dominated the competition and was named the Elite 11 MVP. While he was a senior in high school in 2018, he was featured on the popular high school football.
Oh, that's a great back shoulder throw.
Most viewers on the show thought he came off as cocky, stuck up, and a real jerk to his teammates. And years later, he would comment on the show saying,
"That was nice. That was a little bit of Aaron Rodgers shit right there."
Well, in that show, that's just how it was made. I am 5 or 6 years grown from that, and hopefully I have changed a little bit. I definitely think I have. He was set to be the standout quarterback for Pinnacle his senior year, but would only end up playing in 7 games due to him being ruled ineligible for violating school code. He wasn't suspended from school or anything, and Lincoln Riley said it didn't have to do with drugs or how he was getting into college or anything. Nothing really came from it, and his dad said, quote, "It's a dumb thing and it happened. He's a good kid and he's never in trouble and has a 3.8 GPA. He still played
damn smart ass motherfucker
and signed on to play at OU. Before he was suspended, though, he managed to break the all-time Arizona State high school record, as on his 18th birthday, he finished with a career of 11,000 yards, 116 touchdowns, and 33 interceptions. He was rated as a 5-star recruit in the class of 2019.
He was 5-star. Okay, so I was right.
Style quarterback in the country.
Sheesh, that was a deep ball back shoulder. Okay,
he might have been the greatest quarterback to ever come out of the state, in front of guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brett Hunt, and Danny White. For Spencer coming into
they can't tackle him. That was clean.
He would start as a true freshman, but that would not end up being the case. When he arrived at Oklahoma in 2019, he was the backup behind Alabama transfer Jalen Hurts. He only came into play at specific moments, like the end of the college football playoff game against LSU, as he threw 11 passes for 81 yards and a touchdown. But 2020 was the year he was supposed to take over, and he'd end up being named the starter, and he had a ton of hype. His first start came in a blowout loss to Missouri State, and the first signs of trouble would come at home against Kansas State the next week. They would lose that game, and then after that, he threw 2 picks and a loss to Iowa State, and the Sooners lost again. Luckily, he'd be able to shake it off, though, as he helped beat Texas in a crazy 4 overtime game and eventually helped OU win the Big 12 championship.
Insane.
He ended up finishing with 3,000 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He entered his redshirt sophomore season as the listed starter again, but showed more issues and continued to struggle.
And Caleb Williams took his starting job.
The offense, or was just not making the plays and executing the way that Lincoln Riley wanted him to. In one particular game against West Virginia, he struggled so much that the OU student section started chanting for Caleb Williams to play. I remember that game, it was a night game, and that was a big moment. This would prove to be the beginning of the end for Spencer, as he really struggled against Texas, and Caleb Williams came in and saved the day in that game. The same thing happened in the Kansas matchup, and eventually the noise got so loud that Spencer Rattler was going to be benched. There was even that time where student reporters were up in some sort of tower watching practice, and eventually they decided to roll with Caleb Williams. There were some that were saying that Spencer was a locker room cancer, and then he was eventually benched for good and finished the season with 1,400 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 picks, and it became Caleb's team. After the season was over, Lincoln Riley would leave for USC, and he also did leave for USC, except it was South Carolina instead of Southern Cal. He decided he would follow his tight end Austin Stogner there, and he got to a new SEC program in a new part of the country, and he could sort of start over with a little bit less pressure on him. Upon arriving at South Carolina, he was instantly named the starting quarterback for the 2022 season and was happy to get away from OU. He said, quote, "A lot of guys don't get another chance or to start over where they really want to. I was happy to get away from a toxic situation and get somewhere new." While Spencer did play better,
that's what happens when you get benched, bro.
It was difficult for him to entirely mesh with the pro-style offense. He was used to something very different at OU, and in 2022, he finished with 3,000 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 12 picks. The Gamecocks ended up going 8-5, and he had those monster victories over both Tennessee and Clemson. Shane Beamer was extremely excited for Spencer to get to work for the following season because it finally felt like it was Spencer's team and he was going to be able to put it all together. He really started to mesh. And
bro, that facial expression is crazy.
Antoine Wells and Xavier Legette to throw the ball to. Coach Beamer said, quote, "Last year he came in at this time and he really wasn't trying to impose his will and force his leadership on you.
Bro, why the hell does his face look so weird?"
From there, and now everybody knows what he can do and what he's done. It's very clearly his team and it's very clearly his offense. How would he end up doing? Well, he finished his senior season with 3,186 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 8 picks. Sadly, the Gamecocks did worse in SEC play than they did the previous year.
Pretty good.
As they only ended up going 5-7.
Not the best, but
beat Clemson in that
it's pretty good
game to get to bowl eligibility. He still earned his spot in South Carolina history as he finished 5th.
Not the best like touchdown interception ratio though. 19 touchdowns to 8 picks.
He really has any eligibility remaining, but yeah, he did declare. In terms of his NFL fit, what do I think is going to happen? While he has lost prestige due to leaving Oklahoma and concerns about his personality, he's still projected to be drafted in this year's draft, and while that projection is all over the place, he was invited to the Senior Bowl and was actually given their MVP award. He did reportedly struggle in some of their drills, and he also didn't really perform that well at the Combine. He ran a 4.95 40-yard dash time, and his interviewing skills were just deemed okay. But things seem very weird, as there were also some teams that reportedly rated him as a second-round pick on their draft boards, and no one really knows. In terms of more technical stuff, he does make
he's like
reading coverages.
He's definitely like a third-round pick for in my opinion.
And while his arm got him ranked as a 5-star, it didn't get that much better while he was in college, and it doesn't really feel like a playmaking arm at this point. Spencer, unfortunately,
early third-round pick, late second-rounder.
You all the time, and you'd only get marginally better at South Carolina. Honestly, that is a pretty big problem, and right now he seems to be clearly outside of that top six.
It depends on what team needs.
Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix are all in that top group, and I'd also say Michael Pratt has probably passed him at this point. I'd have Rattler as my number 8 quarterback on the board, but it doesn't mean he has no future. He still has that 5-star arm, was productive, and seemingly mentally he has gotten a lot better. Still though, I think it's fair to think of him as a solid backup, who will probably make a couple starts when an injury happens or a team is playing really bad. I don't think he'll be an NFL starter anytime soon, but he can come in and make plays in relief. In my comparison,
he could become one day.
Heineke or Case Keenum.
You just never know, bro.
You never really know though, as there are a couple of NFL franchises who have their guys, but they're getting older. An example that came to mind for me was the Los Angeles Rams, as Matthew Stafford's getting old, and maybe you take a chance on a guy like Spencer, put him on the bench, see if he can learn and pan out to that hype.
100%.
I don't really know though, but that's
give him the Jordan Love treatment. You feel me?
Go to a team with an older quarterback, see if he can develop, and see what happens. Overall, when Spencer Rattler was the number 1 quarterback coming out of high school, the ultimate goal was to get to the NFL. That is definitely going to happen. He's going to get drafted, and by that standard, you can say he lived up to the hype. He also started nearly 4 years, so to say he's a complete bust is going a little bit too far, but I also will say he was decently underwhelming and did not live up to being the number 1 quarterback in his class. Still though, he's going to get a chance to make it in the NFL, and we'll see what team takes a chance on him. But what do you guys think? What do you think of Spencer Rattler? Where do you think he'll go in the NFL? And what quarterback prospect?
I don't know. Like he said, the Rams would be a great spot for him, though. Learning behind Matthew Stafford, like I said, giving him that Jordan Love treatment. That Jordan Love was sat behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple years, and now you see Jordan Love is balling out so far. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, turn on my post notifications to get notified whenever I drop another banger video. Without further ado, I'm out. Gang.